If I asked you, which film do you think is Stanley Kubrick's most haunting or scariest? You'd probably look at me like I'm an idiot, right?
Here's Johnny!
The Shining is quintessential horror, one of the great horror movies of all time, with legendary performances, an iconic setting, and a legacy that defines the genre to this day.
On top of all that, it's really the only horror movie that Stanley Kubrick made, right? Well, yes. It was technically his only true horror movie.
But Kubrick was constantly toying with dark themes that explored the not-so-appealing side of humanity. The underworld of humanity that reeks of violence and sin. The parts of what make being human more terrifying than any horror movie could be.
Yes, The Shining might have been the true horror movie on Stanley Kubrick's mantelpiece, but it wasn't his most haunting film. There's one film in particular that takes the cake in that department. Let's indulge. So, what is it that makes a movie disturbing? A movie can disturb us in many ways. Maybe it handles uncomfortable topics, or portrays trauma, or has an uncanniness or surrealism to it.
But none of these things necessarily indicate horror movies. Hell, some of the most disturbing sequences I've ever seen have come from non-horror movies. Oftentimes, movies or moments like this can linger on us like a stench far longer than any standard horror movie will stick with us. A jump scare or a creepy monster might jolt us in the moment or give us a nightmare or two, but it doesn't have the same longing impact.
The Shining has the jump scares, it has the blood, the ghosts, the more traditional horror beats. Clockwork is brutal and malevolent in its own way. 2001 is existential. Paths of Glory and Full Metal Jacket display the horrors of war. But personally, none haunted me like Eyes Wide Shut, Stanley Kubrick's final film in his illustrious career.
It follows Dr. Bill Harford, played by Tom Cruise, and his wife Alice, played by Nicole Kidman. After a provocative confession from Alice, Bill spirals into a surreal, night-long odyssey through the city's secret underworld, a journey drenched in desire, secrecy, and blurred morality. As reality starts to fracture, Bill is forced to confront the truth about his marriage, about himself, and about the illusion of control he's tried so hard to maintain.
A couple things. When I completed watching this movie for the first time, I literally had to get up and just walk around the room. It was that I didn't even know what to do with myself. I was that excited, that fired up, that unnerved by what I had just watched, and that doesn't happen. I don't know if there's ever been another movie that I can truly pinpoint where that has happened to me. It encapsulated everything I love in a film. But then the excitement started to wear off and the dread started to settle in. And I realized I began to feel a bit claustrophobic, disturbed by the potential that this might or might not be reality. It all felt a little too real. A little too on the nose, almost like Stanley Kubrick was trying to pull back the curtain on something.
Behind all the themes of lust, resentment, and elitism was this sinister underbelly, an uncharted world where there really are elites pulling the strings, moving the chess pieces, watching as everything falls into place. The film taps into a very specific type of modern fear, that the world is being run by people with far more power, access, and secrecy than we can comprehend. People who operate behind closed doors, whose wealth insulates them from consequences, who move in social spheres where morality doesn't apply.
Look, I'm not a conspiracy guy by any means. You know, conspiracies are fun. It's fun to sit around with your friends and gab a little bit. But the stuff going on with Jeffrey Epstein right now puts this movie in a whole new light. The dark elitist cabal, the thought that evil people exist at the top of society and there's nothing anyone can do to stop it. It's not the horror of monsters or ghouls, it's the horror that evil might exist in plain sight, in mansions, in ballrooms, behind locked doors, and the rest of us, we're not even pawns. We're just watching from the outside. but in all serious, the cult sequence in this film is one of the greatest sequences, for me personally, I've ever seen put to the screen. I mean, the piano score alone in that scene, the dreaded piano with every single note, it just brought me further and further into its grasp, fueled with a deeper surge of fear.
It's just so beautifully shot. The masks, the piano, the dread, it's damn haunting. Enough so that I'll still watch that scene sometimes just to watch it and be like, this is what it's all about.
And the scene really plays into the horror of the unknowable. The idea that we don't really control that much of what lies ahead of us, whether that be because of other people holding us back or destiny or fate or whatever it is. We just can't ever know or control as much as we wish that we could. It's existential in a way. It makes you face your own morality, but also your own mortality. Bars. Some films end with clarity, resolution, answers. Eyed Wide Shut just ends with a hazy fog.
It's a movie built on questions with no interest in answering them. Was Bill ever truly in danger? Was the entire thing just a dream? Or worse, was it not a dream? Kubrick is weaponizing the ambiguity, because ambiguity is where dread lives. Even the ending doesn't bring closure, it brings avoidance, a desperate attempt to return to normal, to pretend nothing happened. Kubrick doesn't want you to understand everything. He wants you to feel like Bill does, disoriented, paranoid, unmoored.
And guess what? I don't like feeling like that. This movie is like Stanley Kubrick prodding away at you on some cold metal table under a bright white light, like you're some alien and he's trying to dissect your mind, trying to work into your innards to find what makes you tick. Throughout all this films, he's had this great ability, to make you face your own more subtle and inert human fears. The fears we're constantly repressing because we know that they don't serve us. The insecurities, the self-esteem, how all fragile it is. Instead of letting you hide, he places the mirror right down in front of you while you're strapped on that table and forces you to confront yourself.
The entire film kicks off with a single sentence, a passing confession. Alice tells Bill that at one point she fantasized about another man. She didn't act on it, she didn't lie or cheat, she just admitted that. For a brief moment, she wanted something else. And that's all it takes to shatter Bill. Bill is a man who thought he had everything figured out. He's successful, confident, charming, but under the surface, his identity is built on assumption. The assumption that his wife is content, that he's enough, that he holds the power in their dynamic. But Alice's honesty throws him into an existential freefall.
The rest of the film is Bill trying to reclaim that sense of power. He walks through the city like he's searching for something, but in reality, what he's really looking for is a reason to feel in control again. But ultimately, nothing satisfies him because deep down he knows the truth. He's not haunted by what Alice said. He's haunted by the way she felt. And worse, by the possibility that she might still feel it. Human ego is a fragile thing. It's the bane of all of our existence. And facing that ego, facing the cracks in our own self-image, is way scarier to me than any of the goblins or ghouls that could ever be put to screen. So yeah, I went there. I said it. Sure. The Shining might be Stanley Kubrick's quintessential horror movie, but it's not his scariest. It's not the one that haunted me the most because it's not real. It's a fun story filled with serial killers and blood and ghosts. That's fun. That's fun. But this, Eyes Wide Shut, that's a whole new level of fear. A fear that's too primal, too on the nose. A fear that makes us get a little bit too introspective with ourselves. And no, I don't need that. I don't need to examine every dark thought that goes around this empty night. Eyes Wide Shut was the icing on the cake of a beautifully diverse career. A career that put humanity under a microscope, sometimes literally, a career that had a knack for examining the Machiavellian. Kubrick was reclusive and intense, but he was not afraid. He was never afraid, and it's only fitting that his swan song made us fully aware of that. That it asked us questions with no intentions of getting answers before silently fading into the night. And it was only right that before Eyes Wide Shut premiered, Kubrick himself quietly faded into the night, with no answers, with nothing but a final film to ask us, are you one of them? Or are you just lucky to be watching from the outside? Oh, God, that was a fun one. I love that. I love that movie so much, so I'll always take an opportunity to talk about it. Thank you guys so much for every like, subscribe, every dislike, whatever it is. I appreciate all of you. So I will see you guys next time. Take care.